Fuck it. Let's just start it now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as most times, Gavin.
And I, Justin. Most times. Do you change occasionally? Like file for a name change every couple weeks?
I mean, it depends on the mood. Depends how I'm feeling.
Okay.
Sometimes I am a literal pile of garbage, and sometimes I'm Gavin. So
sometimes you're figurative.
Sometimes I'm figurative. Anyways, what the fuck is up, dude?
So, I actually got a little advertisement on my Facebook earlier that I think would be a really interesting thing for us to discuss.
Oh, you want to just jump into that right now? You don't want to have any, conversational back and forth shit?
I mean, we can. I don't know.
You have an agenda today, apparently.
I mean, I just have it right here, so.
You definitely do. Well, since the last time we actually recorded, Justin and I, we see each other generally once a week and also have a phone call on Wednesdays. However, during the crunch time of getting into this NSX thing, and I know we keep on kind of hinting at it and kind of hyping it up a little bit, as of the release of this podcast, it won't be out yet. So we're trying, we're really doing our best. We've had some hiccups and some hurdles to jump over, but we are tirelessly working at it. I mean, I come up on Sundays and I'm here for 13 hours roughly, and I'm also coming up after work on Wednesdays to now keep working on it. So not since the last time I saw you, but since the last time we recorded a podcast, is actually on the same day. We did a little photo shoot, not for us, but for my gp.media Instagram account. This guy, Gabe Cerritos, shout out Gabe. He wanted to do a shoot of his ProCharge C5 Corvette Z06.
That's pretty sweet. I've had one experience with the C5 Z06 where I had a friend that owned one for a bit, and I car sat it for a week while he was on his honeymoon, and obviously I didn't do much. I didn't take it to a track or even on a canyon. I just cruised it around town. That's all that I got.
You didn't rip fat fucking Bernies in the Walmart parking lot?
Considering it was on old tires and had 180,000 miles on it, no. He got it for what at the time was a screaming deal of around 10.
Sure.
Because this was also 5 years ago.
Okay. So it's now worth 14, 15 probably?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And yeah, no, I didn't do that.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Not at all. I didn't go ruin what was left of the tires or anything else. But it was my first venture into the world of Corvette, so it was interesting to read.
That was your first Corvette.
Yes.
Interesting.
That was my first experience piloting a Corvette.
Sure.
And I think I started to see, okay, I can kind of see a little bit why so many people like these now, especially one like this where it's really cheap and it's a Z06, so it's actually performance-oriented more than a standard Corvette.
And those were stick only, right?
I believe so.
The first Z06 to come with an auto was probably the C7, because I don't think the C6 would have had an auto either.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to mention that because so fucking many C5s are autos.
Yes. So almost it'd probably be a 50-50 take rate, I bet.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But that manual did have one weird feature, which is the only thing that really weirded me out about the car, which is that it had a economy shifting type of feature where if you started off in first, you'd get going, and then it would actually flash up on the screen 1 to 4, and it would actually lock you out of going to second and third.
It would lock you out?
Yes.
Wow.
It would guide you and force you to go into fourth for economy reasons if you weren't flooring it around.
That's kind of cool, though.
I would love to know the mechanics of how exactly it works. I'm sure it's just something in the shifter itself right here and not in the transmission, of course.
Well, yeah, because you can, I remember more with, Subarus, there would be reverse lockouts.
Yes, and so this would kind of...
It would be an actual, almost like a steel rod or something that would be in the gate, and that would just block your actual shifter rod from going that direction.
Yeah, what it seemed to be is if you were started off in first gear and you were using less than 50% throttle, it would automatically engage this. So you'd go down and it would just guide you at a 45-degree angle straight into fourth.
That's crazy. But the engine has so much torque, though, that it doesn't really matter.
It didn't really matter, but it was very... I would have rather had it be okay, go into third or something.
Sure.
Fourth was a little bit of a stretch, even for something with that much torque.
Yeah.
Because it'd be
Sure. I remember watching an Everyday Driver video on the Hellcat when the Hellcat first came out. This is in 2015, And the first one that they had was a Challenger Hellcat. I actually helped them shoot a Charger Hellcat video. But the Chally was first, and there was a clip in there of Todd. He's like, okay, like it was his in-car, and he was stopped. He's like, okay, I am stopped. I'm stationary, doing 0 miles an hour. I'm going to put this into 6th and see if it'll take off. And it did.
Oh, yeah.
0 to 200 in 1 gear.
Hell yeah. Just the first bit of that is very anticlimactic.
I mean, it's stressful.
Like, just trying
It didn't shudder.
Oh, really?
It did not shudder. It probably required some feathering, but it did not shudder.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was like pretty smooth.
Probably just a lot of clutch feathering for the first 20 miles an hour.
For the first 5 to 10, probably.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But this car in particular that we shot at C5Z06 has some, I would say, tasteful modifications.
I think they're tasteful, yet still youthful.
Yeah.
It's not quite putting sad boy stickers on your side view mirrors and cambered out and fuckboy shit. It's not that. But you don't see anybody really over the age of 35 putting sleepy headlights on Miatas or Corvettes.
Yeah.
I think it worked for this application. Yeah, for those that are, listening, for the 6 of you that are doing so, it's just picture a red C5 Z06 with some black hood vents. So these one big one in the middle and 2 off to the side, and then some sleepy headlights a la Miata. Because people do those in Miatas, and I think probably old 240s too.
Yeah.
And then had a black wing, a little ducktail, on the back. That was not obtrusive at all. It almost looked factory.
I think with a slight amount of trimming and form fitting, it would have been looked factory, it came out.
Yeah, and then MagnaFlow exhaust. Oh, and a Pro Charger. Sorry, did I mention a Pro Charger yet?
No, but we now re-mentioned it. Pro Charger, and then finally some wheels. What was the...
VT Forged were the wheels.
Yeah.
They're based out of, I want to say, Arizona?
I believe so, because he mentioned it a couple times, Phoenix and his friends that live there. But,
yeah, and those were cool, too. They're just these black forged, double 5 spokes, I think.
Yeah.
I should know. I edited the photos, but we shot that in a couple of different locations. We actually met up and drove up the North Ogden Divide, which I took photos there. Didn't really use anything there from there. The lighting was just super intense, and just the way the time of day and the lighting, it just didn't quite work.
And we ended up crashing a proposal.
Yes. Funny story about that. They weren't proposing in front of us. Justin apparently found out that you actually knew the guy, and you saw on your Facebook later that she said yes.
Yeah, we basically pulled up to do some shoots, and they were parked in their Camry wagon, just chilling, having a little picnic. We drove off, and then I got a message 10 minutes later from this individual who's a Saab guy that I've only ever met once before, but he recognized me and said, "Hey, was that you that just pulled over with the C5?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, cool, man." And then when I got home that night, I look on his Facebook, and he's like, "She said yes," and it's got pictures of them when they were sitting in the wagon looking out the same direction.
That would have been hilarious if they were just super low key, and if he asked her while we were there.
Yeah.
And we were in the photos. That would have just made my fucking week.
Oh, man.
But anyways, for those that are either from Utah or know the Ogden area well, we went up the North Ogden Divide, which has now been repaved. That used to be a super sketchy road.
Yep.
Especially the people that are live up there and really know how to drive that road. Sketch city, man. Super cracked up, not very well paved, narrow, and pretty windy. So I'm glad it got repaved. It's a really great high quality road now, which is awesome. Took some photos at the top, went around the back side of it, took some more photos at a pull out, and then on the entire way back down the backside, we got rollers, and some of which are some of my favorite rollers ever. Actually, that one last one. It's not often we actually get rollers, whether it's for video for us or whether I get rollers for GP Media stuff for photos. It's not often we get rollers in the opposite lane going around a long corner. And so this one last downhill right-hander, it was epic because we were in the all track.
Yep.
In the GP media support vehicle, the Expedition Speed support vehicle.
Yep. One of them.
Pardon my French. Coming around a long downhill right-hander, and in the background there's like this rock wall that we had just driven through, and I got like nice and low and wide, and like the lighting was good. I got my polarizer was on the right like angle, and it was just fucking epic. I was like, I just want to do this all the time.
Just this long right-handed sweeper.
Yeah, exactly. And like we had plenty of visibility. There was nobody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, shout out Gabe. Thanks, homie. What was funny was there was supposed to be another guy. I forgot what the other guy drove. But we were, like, what was potentially going to happen was like he was going to come like later in the shoot or something and like wanted just to grab a few photos from me.
Yeah.
And like that's not something I really do. Like if you want photos from me, like just buy the package. I don't charge that much money.
Book a shoot.
Yeah, just book a full shoot and get a bunch more content. And so I at first I was like, okay, well, if he wants a handful of photos, he can throw me $50. And I'll just take a couple solos and then a couple with Gabe's car, and then he can bounce or whatever. And he ended up not showing, which is fine. And then we did our shoot, and then I edited, and then I gave Gabe the photos, and I posted my own stuff. And the dude's like, the other guy like saw the stuff. He was like, "Oh fuck, I should have been there, man." It's like,
you should,
yeah,
you should book your own shoot.
Yeah, just fucking call me, homie. Let's go. Anyways, that was a week ago. What's happened since, Justin? What's going on?
So since then, honestly, besides the regular work shit that we talked about last week, nothing crazy. But what I mentioned at the beginning, which is what's right here that I want to talk about because it's really kind of funny, and I'll pull it up here for you as well, is I got an advertisement when I got on Facebook. Is like Gavin was doing some editing and I was powering up the podcast setup and whatnot, and I got an advertisement for something that, let me pull this up so I can make sure. Also, if you lower your chair, it'll stop the squeaking. It's the arm on the thing.
Are you actually catching in the headphones?
Yes. There you go.
Perfect.
Good job.
This is the great thing about having like actual microphone arms and also an office chair. I can just kind of fuck around.
Yep. So this advertisement just said, "Breaking, Big Oil," in quotes, "wants to make this fuel-saving device illegal." So I've seen these things before, or devices like this. And what it basically is it's a little tiny device that plugs into your OBD2 port and claims to save, as much as like 25% or more on fuel.
Jeez.
So pretty insane claims. I've seen several different devices that claim to do this exact same.
55%.
Yeah, there you go. That claim to do similar things to this. There's also fuel tablets that effectively claim to save fuel. And some of them have some, how do I say this in lawyerese? They have technology that does technically work, but it's vastly oversold, where these tablets can actually, in a way, dissolve down and water down your fuel a little bit to help it go a little further.
So what does this one do?
That's what I've been trying to figure out. I've been digging through the website, but the funny thing is the website I just pulled up here for you is different than the one that I got from this. So what's really funny about this is that the specific link I got on Facebook, which is this same website called getecomod.com, so like their obvious website. Then it takes it to this page that is designed to look, and I'm going to see if I can find it for you. This page is designed to look like a tech news place making an article about Ecomod, reviewing it.
But it's not. But it's a sales website.
But it's on their own website.
Okay.
So the best part is I'm reading through this, trying to figure out what exactly this device does. I've basically come to the conclusion that it probably tricks your ECU, similar to like a dog tune, into changing some values, either by, number one, pulling a Volkswagen and saying fuck it to emissions and just going for pure fuel efficiency,
right?
Or number two, just leaning the hell out of the engine.
That's what it sounds like. Which makes your engine go kaboom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure that either way, it's not going to be good in the long run for the engine.
No.
It'll be maybe fantastic for short-term fuel savings.
Sure.
But whatever. So I read through this entire article right here, and I'm actually just going to search this article title so I can pull it up for you.
There was actually a recent update to Chrome that you can just share links with yourself.
Okay.
So I wonder if that's something you can do.
There it is right there.
So interesting. Okay.
And like I said, it's their own website. Oh, that's funny. See, this one doesn't even have it. It still says EcoChip. Oh, see, look, this is what they do. They basically make this one device, and they're selling it under a bunch of different companies.
Sure.
And they spam advertise it. See, that website doesn't even function. And it's basically a legal scam. It's a snake oils pitch is what it is.
Sure.
Where they know that if they advertise to a bunch of people, especially on Facebook, they'll get people to pay $40 for this little defeat device that costs them
nothing.
That costs them $2 to make.
Sure.
With this little plastic thing. Exactly.
If that.
But what was funny is that I'm reading down this whole thing, trying to figure out what it does, and all of their descriptions are super vague and talking about next to nothing. But the best part is the end section. So they basically, people are saying this on social media and design 2 Facebook review columns that look real, but they're actually just pictures. So they're just screenshots. They're not actually links to anything on Facebook.
Quote unquote screenshots that are just graphically created.
Yep. And then the whole section on, is this device actually legal? It's completely legal, but Big Oil wants to stop it.
Yeah.
And we don't know how long the company, they basically go in trying to, keep the wall intact, that they're not the company, even though it's the company's own website.
Right.
Saying that
this is the epitome of fake news.
Oh yeah, we don't know how long the manufacturer will be able to keep manufacturing this.
Sure. As long as you can sell it to people.
One of these days, I would love to buy something like this and just actually attempt to dissect it and figure out what it actually does.
Yeah.
Because
that's some donut media stuff, though.
It really is.
That's something that they probably would do if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it says it's suitable for gas and diesel engines.
I'm sure.
Oh my goodness, it's
one size fits all.
The best part is just an FYI, your OBD2 port is always powered even when your ignition is off.
Yeah.
It does always have a constant 12 volt to it.
Yeah.
So they even have a section here saying, oh, it won't drain your battery at all. It's like, well, I mean, it's a small electrical device, so it won't for a long time. But if you left it plugged in there for a while, it would drain your battery.
So actually, I actually now have a question, because I have a Carista, just an OBD2 reader that I actually don't really need to use anymore, because I bought that so I could get data that can go into an app that was on my phone that would run through Android Auto that would provide OBD2 information. So whether it be coolant temps, boost levels, boost pressures, IATs, whatever.
Yep.
And there was an update that happened to, I think it was to my phone, and it was automatic, that basically rendered that app to not work anymore.
Gotcha.
So I don't use the information from my OBD2 anymore. So, but it's just been plugged into my car for months.
Yeah.
So at what point should I start to either be worried about it or start thinking about a new battery?
Oh, it won't wear down your... I'm mainly talking about if the car sat parked and not on, it would drain the battery. You driving the car every day, using the alternator, it does charge it back up. It would never affect that.
Gotcha.
And a device like that, they're probably smart enough to code and wire in where it will detect once it gets signal from the ECU when the ignition is turned on.
Right.
So once that's turned off, it will actually shut down and be in a standby state with that constant 12-volt power.
Gotcha.
This... I doubt they went to that kind of exclusion.
They probably made these for 30 cents.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the same time, even if they didn't, it is such a small device, it would take a while. It's just, they just went on such a rampage about oh no, it won't do anything to your battery. Where it's it kind of technically will, but just not anything that anybody would notice.
For a while, at least.
Yeah. So it got me thinking, what other weird snake oil items are there? Because there are some famous ones. One of them from the detailing realm is a product called Top Coat F11, which is just a spray shine that they've actually gone, I wouldn't say in and out of business, but their website and presence has shut down a couple times.
So is it just like a sealant?
It advertises itself as a wax replacement that's a polish and a sealer all in one that you use on everything. Interior, exterior, everything. And this one has already been somewhat debunked by some individuals online in the detailing community where they used it in comparison to other products and found out, like, look, it adds gloss is effectively all it does. It's lasting properties despite what they say in adding, a year of protection.
It's probably like 3 weeks.
Yes. It'll basically wash off after the next wash.
Oh, wow.
It's just a gloss is all.
Sure.
It literally just is probably a silicone spray that is just a temporary shine it up type of chemical. But their advertising is the most cringy and ridiculous stuff and was really heavy over the past 4 years and has died down a lot. They were initially selling this shit for like $60 a bottle. So, I mean, you can only imagine how much they were making off of it, especially if it is what is suspected, which is a fairly cheap silicone spray. I mean, even now, this little bottle, like a 4-ounce bottle, like that big, is $10.
Wow.
It's insane. Yeah, and the full gallon is like $200. So they're still charging a shit ton for it for a product that has effectively been debunked.
Sure.
But since it is a legit product, like it technically does shine and do the things that they say, they've just dodged around a lot of the other stuff they used to advertise, like, oh, it adds a year of protection, which it doesn't.
Right.
It's still available. And then, like, finally, the other one that I was looking at, because I was just thinking about what other snake oil things, you'll go through the aisles at, like, O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and you'll see all these products all along there that will advertise to so not the typical ones like you'd think about, like a Chevron fuel additive, but you'll see like oil additives, coolant additives, stop leaks, all these other things, which are, and you'll see almost a dozen different variations of them. And all these products are also in the same category, just like these last two, that technically work. Like they basically, somebody found a way to sell a product that does technically work enough to be legally defensible, but in most cases is borderline a scam because its real-world use is so limited and it's such a simplistic product that, like, okay, yeah, you can buy, like, Barr's stop leak for your engine that claims to be able to loosen up piston rings to reduce oil consumption, things like that. And while it may have the capability on paper to sort of do that, the real-world application of it for spending $20 for a bottle of the shit is like, okay, yeah, it stopped burning oil for like a minute, and then it was back. Like it's.
So where do we stand on Seafoam?
So Seafoam, as far as Seafoam is a cleaner. So as far as what's been done with Seafoam, I think most of their claims seem to stand up because they don't make anything too outlandish. Most of these products you'll see like. Well,
Seafoam's been around forever too. Like that's definitely a standard.
Yeah, and Seafoam as a cleaner, I have personally seen like it clean out some systems that have been sitting for 5 years.
Sure.
And make things run a little bit better because it's just a detergent. Some of these, the main reason you can tell these is they'll use like guaranteed or 100% satisfaction, a lot of advertising terms plus like almost saying it will fix something that's broken. Even without saying it. The stop leak products especially are really bad at that, like head gasket sealers.
Sure.
Where basically they've got a chemical that's designed the second it comes in contact with high heat or combustion to seal up. Yeah, that's a great thing to have in your engine. Yeah. And it has like just as much chance of ruining your engine as it does fixing it.
Sure.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about like the automotive industry with how large it has a lot of like little snake oil products like this for everywhere from the detailing industry to oil to additives to even little silly like gimmicks to install in cars. For instance, another one is the deer whistles. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Yeah, I have.
So it's another product that technically does work because all it does is create about a 20,000 hertz whistle as you're driving down the road.
Yeah, because dogs and like other animals can hear beyond what we can, and 20,000 is the limit of most humans hearing.
And although it does do the thing it advertises and that it produces that whistle, the reality of it, which I have personally seen from somebody driving trucks and seen on camera what it does, all it does is that it just, the deer just looks up, I hear a whistle. It doesn't make them run off the road. It's just funny. They try to advertise that like, oh yeah, you throw this on there and it will miraculously prevent you from hitting a deer. No, it just makes the deer look at you when you hit it.
Right.
These products are just always so funny because like, somebody's making a shit ton of money. And some of them, a lot of these people might even genuinely think they had like a brilliant idea and might genuinely feel that, but a lot of them are just a quick buck for someone. And I kind of hate it. I hate the automotive world that's a part of it.
But it's not just automotive, though. I mean, just go on to daytime TV and just check out I mean, I haven't watched daytime television in 15 years, 20 years.
Neither
but
have I.
Yeah. I remember a big thing, something that did work, actually. It was featured on the Golf Channel.
Okay.
If you want to pull up the Medicus 5000, I think it's the MEDICUS. Medicus 5000. Yeah. So imagine a golf club, but it had like a double hinge on the shaft, like just above the head.
Interesting. Right there.
Yeah. They had them for a driver and they had them for like a 5-iron, I think.
Okay.
Let's see if there's any others.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so that could, I mean, I think you could probably adjust the tension or like the release of those hinges, like at what point they release at and like they break.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, wow. $370 with bonus DVDs.
Well, I mean, that's about what a driver would be.
Yeah.
I think golf clubs are rather expensive. But
Yes.
That actually did work, though. My dad, like, the one thing that he bought off the TV was one of these.
Yeah.
And it actually, like, I used it, he used it, and basically what would happen is if you, like, took back your swing, like, too quickly, it would break. If you tried to come down too quickly or at too steep of an angle, it would break.
Gotcha.
And so, like, that worked. And I did see improvements in my swing and in my dad's swing growing up, like when he got that. But that's like the only thing I've really seen, like as seen on TV, that actually fucking works.
Yeah, there's a few of them. It's a pretty low take rate though, as far as like what's actually real and what's actually, again, snake oil. And actually, just as a little background, I think most people are familiar with the term snake oil.
Yeah.
But the basic background.
Well, that goes back to like the pioneer days and shit, like out in the desert. Like, buy this oil and it'll alleviate your indigestion or death or whatever.
It basically has become a unanimous term for anything that is advertised to do far more than it's physically capable of doing.
Yeah.
And back then it was traveling salesmen quite often that would travel around after having distilled snake oil, which is a legitimate thing. Snake oil does exist and has uses, and say that snake oil or whatever they were peddling that week could cure your cancer, even though we didn't know cancer back then, but like cure your ailments of any kind, stop your cough, make your skin clear up, like all these crazy things just by drinking this 1 ounce bottle of snake oil. Clearly not the case, just as much as any of these products are not the case. And it's not, like you said, it's not limited to the automotive world. Like another one is the funny little, you can go to Walmart and buy the UV sterilizers for your cell phone.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Silly shit like that. There's no end to these types of products, and we've gotten a lot better in the past, let's say 50 years, because like regulations have gotten a lot tighter, and it's harder for companies like this to push products that are pure bullshit.
Well, yeah, and the invention and the how widespread social media has gotten, and just the widespread of word of mouth has gotten. Like if you have like a shit product that really doesn't work, you're gonna hear about it. Like you're gonna hear about it like from the people that bought it.
And they'll have to do things like this. So a prime example of what can happen is F11. So F11 they pushed major Facebook advertising consistently.
Yeah.
In all of their comment sections, every time I would look, it would be heavily filtered. And you could tell because it would be only the purest of positive phrase, no negative whatsoever. And
well, you can check and see, like, on a post, like, before you click into the comments, like, it has 300 comments, and then it only displayed 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was what happened almost every time until, like, the first time I saw their social and internet stuff go down was around early 2020 when I saw them kind of disappear for a moment.
Sure.
And that's when I first had noticed that I saw, like, the first scathing negative comment on there briefly, probably before they hit it. And that's another trademark is any type of time where they're trying to hide criticism, because either they know that they're shady or they're just so head up their ass deep in it that they truly believe that they found the gift for all of God's humanity.
Sure.
Both do happen. Probably some of the other random ones that I've seen. Actually, some of the good ones. I will mention a good one. Slime, like the tire sealant, originally started as one of these types of products.
As seen on TV kind of thing?
But it's actually a good product that actually can, like throwing some slime in a tire when you have a leak, can actually work and help get you to the next place. And is now pretty unanimous with its function. And there's just quite a lot of them. It's just funny to look at these and just... I hate the fact that people get sucked in so much by it, because we as humans, and I think generally, and I'm kind of the antithesis here, I'm a skeptic generally, whereas a lot of people are more hopeful, and especially in things that they don't know. You know, for instance, with cars, many people are very basic with cars. It's their transportation. It's like a dishwasher to them.
Yeah.
So they don't know much more than the bare basics of, sometimes not even the bare basics of being able to change oil or change a tire. Sometimes not even that. And so they'll go into a store after, let's say they go, like the family minivan goes to the mechanic, it had overheated. He says, hey, it's got head gasket issues. It's going to cost a couple $1,000s to replace the head gaskets. They drive away because it's still kind of functional. It's dying and not dead.
Sure. And
go to AutoZone and they see this product on the shelf. We'll cure your head gasket. We'll fix everything. And
well, yeah, because the family like heard the word or the phrase head gasket once, and then they see a product that fixes head gasket.
And so, therefore, they go ahead and buy it and do it. And that's what keeps a lot of these products alive, because they're very, very good at advertising to their target market, we'll call it.
Yeah.
But, no, it was just really funny to me that with primarily that initial OBD2 reader one that I talked about, that you go onto the website and it's their URL link with tech trends as the banner, trying to look like another website that's advertising this for them and reviewing it.
Totally not scammy.
Totally not at all.
Super
and then
legit.
Or then and then oh god, I just realized this one. Right below that is update. Gas prices could double next year. And it's a dead link. It doesn't go anywhere.
How old is that link?
I don't know.
Does it say on Google?
Because the funny thing is that it oh, there we go. It finally loaded. I thought it was a dead link because it was just sit and spin in a circle. No, it just went back to their website.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah, so, this is a little bit of a roundabout. Thank you, yes, the band. The song Roundabout.
I don't know that song.
Okay, darn. Well, maybe somebody will get
Fucking
that reference.
boomer.
Exactly. But it's just a constant circle. It just never ends, because I just went down that link, and then it has another one, and it's just all these they're just throwing their own news articles all at their own product, trying to tell you why you should buy it.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah, anyways, just, I guess as a wrap-up, be skeptical of things. Things can be good.
Is this the end of the podcast?
No, just wrapping up this section of it, like, at the very least. Like, just like as what I was trying to get to is just, don't believe everything you see. There's just as many people out there that want to fuck you as want to be your friend.
Yeah.
You know?
What's that fucking... there's a song. Some people want to use you. Some people want to be used by you.
Yes. Oh.
Yes. Anyways.
I know the song. I just can't
Everyone
remember
wants to rule the world. Isn't
yes. It? I think
Isn't
so.
it?
I think so.
Well, I mean, if we want to like wrap this section up, that would be great, because the coffee has kicked in.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to do a cut here, we can resume in a bit, and I can take a shit break.
Okay, sounds good. We'll be back after this momentary pause.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
And we're back.
Cool. So I would rate that at about a 5.6, 5.7 out of 10
On the Richter scale?
on the shit scale, on the shitter scale,
On the Schichter scale.
on the Schichter scale. Anyways, decent shit for sure. Speaking of shit,
Yes.
a couple of friends of mine, one of yours, have kind of been fucked a little bit. We wanted to kind of talk about cover some car news, and we felt that covering some close to us and maybe personal car news is something that's worth discussing. Because we haven't reached out to these two individuals, we won't leave their names in.
Yeah.
We if they don't mind that we talk about their situation and get back to us later, if they hear this, then fine. We can maybe, if they want attention later, we can talk about who it is. But
Exactly.
But as of this recording, we haven't reached out for their permission to name drop and say. I mean, we could probably discuss dealership names. Is that kosher?
I think it should be kosher. Because
I mean, honestly, these two dealerships can go fuck themselves because of what's kind of happened to our to some friends of ours. So
yeah.
Roll back to, I think it was late winter, early spring of this year. A friend of mine was trying to get his hands on the new BRZ. He is an employee of this Subaru dealership in Boise. And I forget the name of the dealership, but
I mean, good. Anyways, go ahead.
yeah. I can't remember the name of the dealership, but he's an employee. I think he works in parts for the dealership, and he at work he did the ordering process, and I think he even got a spec.
Yeah.
For said BRZ. He checked off all the options he wanted. He picked out a color, all this stuff. And then he heard back from the dealership saying, oh, well, and this is alleged. I haven't been able to corroborate, and reach out to that dealership myself.
Yeah.
All I have is to believe him. But they reached out to him and said, actually, your order can't be filled. We stopped, we had a cutoff, and we actually didn't get yours in until after the cutoff. And so he was just left hanging high and dry. Granted, neither people that we will discuss here have put money down.
True.
I don't know if the Subaru situation, if there were documents signed. I don't think there were. A lot of it was just vocal agreement, and just saying that he wanted to buy the car and he picked things out, but there wasn't any signatures. There wasn't a paper trail, really. Yeah. Fast forward to this last week, and a friend of ours he had picked out colors and his spec and had an agreement with the owner of fucking Tim Daly Nissan, Tim himself, on a car. I think he's in the single digits as far as placement in the line. He was number 2 or something.
Yep.
For the new 400Z. And they got back to him and said, and this is everything that I know, and I can pull up my conversation with this individual, but they said that his paperwork didn't go through and he just got lost in the system completely, and they've cut off orders.
Yep.
Let me try to find. Okay, it's right here. He said on Friday, he said he was going to reach out to Tim tomorrow. So his so-called top sale manager is screwing him for sure. And he needs to go as high up as he can. Try to, if it's possible, to even get Nissan corporate involved, because the thing about the BRZ and the GR86 for those two companies, and also the new 400Z, those are big deal cars for those companies.
Yeah,
they really need as high of an image as possible. Just think about the new. I think the guy had a GR. Yeah, it was the GR86. The guy that just a couple weeks ago, he took his car to a track day. So when you buy a GR86 from Toyota, they give you a 1-year subscription to NASA and 1 free NASA track day.
Okay.
A free SCCA membership and a NASA track day.
Yeah.
because they really want people to drive these cars on track and get the full experience out of them. And he took his car to the track and oil starved. There were issues with the previous generation engines with oil pickups getting clogged with some kind of sealant. I can't remember if it's been said or if we even know what the actual crux of that issue was, but he went to his dealership. The guy at the dealership voided his warranty, or said his warranty was void, because that manager went and found this guy on Instagram and found photos of him doing donuts in the parking lot and said that was abuse and they wouldn't cover it, even though, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's just kind of setting the stage of like how big of a deal this is for these companies. Toyota heard about this and corporate got involved and said that they would, cover his engine, even though he already got the engine replaced anyways.
Yeah.
Or rebuilt. So it's just really weird to me that like these dealerships that are like main regional dealerships for these brands that have these new, highly anticipated, highly coveted cars coming out, and I don't know if this is like a widespread issue that we just haven't heard about until friends of ours have had this happen to them, or if this is just a rare problem. But what the fuck is going on with these dealerships where like they're just getting lost in the sauce?
So I actually there was a third one as well that I haven't mentioned to you yet.
Oh.
I had a friend that put in an order for a Volvo V60. Polestar engineered. Basically, it's a plug-in hybrid V60.
Is this the person that we were talking about? That happened to him too?
So his wasn't bad. Is
he getting the car?
He does have a guaranteed spot, but basically the backstory with his is that he put in the order rather late for a 2023 right now, because like you put in an order now, you're not really going to get it till beginning of next year ish,
or maybe even 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. And they kind of knew that going in, and he was led to be aware by the dealership locally that, like, hey, there is a chance that it might not work. We have to submit it to Volvo Corporate. They get the final say on, like, how many they're going to produce. Because the specific car in this case, unlike the GR86 and the 400Z, is in very low production, like very low volume. So he got word that Volvo said no. But they said no, but we can put you at the first of the 24 list. So he still has a chance. That's an example of this going right.
Similar things were happening with Bronco too.
Yeah.
It's not that they haven't cut off the list entirely. It's just like, okay, for this year, we can't fill you in this year. We'll get you next year.
That's what happened to actually another one of our good friends with his two-door green Bronco. Wow. He put in an order.
Yeah, but he has his car now.
He does now, but he put in the order day one of orders, and it took over 2 years, and regular customers had walked into a dealership and bought stock models before he got his.
Yeah, and, well, they bought him at a markup.
Yes.
And he got his at sticker.
Yes.
And he wasn't ever sent a hammock, was he?
He was.
He got the hammock?
He got the hammock.
I want to see the hammock.
I think he got the hammock. He also got playing cards, too, which are really cool.
I don't care about the playing cards. The joke about the hammock is that they told him to hang in there.
Yes.
So, I want to see this hammock. I want to take pictures of this hammock. I want the hammock.
But like, anyways, where I was getting at with this is the individual with the Volvo got off in probably what's the best case scenario, where the dealer said, hey, Volvo said no for the 2023 model year, but we'll help put you in the front for 2024. With a fully refundable deposit and everything like that. Fortunately, most of these dealerships have gone to fully refundable deposits.
Sure.
That's the one silver lining of this. But so he also got denied right now. He might be able to go to a different dealer. It's just that allotment for that dealer was filled, and they didn't know it till they submitted the order and heard back. But at least he heard back, unlike
and that's
some
not
of these
that's
others.
not quite the same.
It's not. So what I'm going back to is like the individual with the 400Z.
Yeah.
He just got lost in the sauce. And I have a theory as to why this is going on. And it's not necessarily just the normal, COVID's screwing everything up. That's an effect.
That's kind of old news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, the supply chain is still struggling. Yes, chip shortages are still real because the chips that like cars run off are actually like decade or two old technology. They're really simple, really cheap computer chips that they run off versus fancy new tech. And a lot of fabs are moving away from producing those, which is on top of shipping and everything else causing problems there. That's why, you've heard over the past 2 years chip shortages. And that's still ongoing.
Well, and a lot of other tech is from what my understanding is and what I've heard is other tech companies such as like Samsung and other like Apple, they are willing to pay more for those chips, and so the manufacturers of those chips are just selling them to the tech companies, and the automotive companies are getting fucked.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, sorry, that guy will pay 50% more, and in some cases it is that much.
Yeah.
So where I think the problem ends up lying is that I'm sure a lot of people know dealers, especially in the U.S., are franchises almost exclusively. In fact, in Utah and many other states, there are laws that a company cannot sell direct. And there's a lot of political turmoil surrounding why that is. There's a lot of back-end deals where those laws were originally created. There's a lot of shady bullshit, and then there's a lot of reasons why there are some good things where it does provide another like a local company that's not directly tied to Ford that does help, but like there's just as much good and bad. You can go do that research on your own as to why that is. But the reality is that most car dealers in the U.S. are franchises, and they have been used to for 100 years now being able to either A, get in plenty of stock inventory and just sell it as needed, or B, put in an order and get it within like 2 or 3 months. Now, for the past couple years, due to all the aforementioned effects of COVID, supply chain, chip shortage, etc., they end up in this weird scenario where they want to sell as many cars as possible because they're an independent business. But due to many other reasons, corporate ends up limiting things, even though corporate probably doesn't want to. So dealerships have gone on the swing arm of trying to very much overpromise and overdeliver when in reality
underdeliver.
Or like trying to make it seem like they would over-deliver, but in reality under-deliver.
Yeah.
Because they can't get these cars. So they'll, for instance, with the individual with the 400Z.
Well, and the Subaru, too.
And the Subaru. They'll basically say, oh, yeah, we should be able to get it. We can choose everything now. And fortunately, in these two cases, there was no money that traded hands, but basically make a lot of...
Oh, if there was, they'd get sued.
Exactly. Basically make a lot of promises that like, oh, yeah, we can for sure do this. We'll take a deposit and all this stuff. But then... honestly, it seems like what they've done is they basically probably look down their customer list and basically say, okay, cool. All these people at the top of our list that have bought like 10 cars from us, those are the people we're going to consider first.
Right, but it's crazy to me, like with the Subaru situation, that was an employee of that company getting fucked.
Yep.
Like if I, for my flower shop, for instance, like wanted to get flowers for my mom for Mother's Day and got in at like the right time, I made an order, and then it just didn't get made, didn't get sent out to my mom, I'd be fucking pissed.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be furious.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like a small, like that's a really small company with like single-digit full-time employees with one shop dealing with fucking flowers. Like, not that expensive of an item, really.
Yeah.
When you're talking about, a car that costs, for, say, the Subaru, a $29,000 to $32,000 car, and then for the Z, a roughly $50,000 give or take car.
Yeah.
Like, and with the Nissan, like this individual was speaking with, like, the guy's fucking name is on the building.
Yeah.
And having that guy, agree and say that the car's, he's going to get the car, whatever, and then completely get fucked in the end for that. Like, where's the accountability? And I don't know. The more I hear and the more just the more either news or hearsay from friends that do work with the dealerships, the more I'm like, fuck dealerships, sell direct. And that's the real one thing I'm really taking away from Tesla is like, just sell me the fucking thing.
And I have a prime example of this.
Yeah.
There's another, ironically, friend that's somewhat associated with a couple of these other friends we've talked about that decided one day his Tacoma was too expensive and he wanted a Model 3. Put in an order, had it within 2 months. Direct, to his door and everything. Like, there's many, many things that Tesla does wrong, but that is definitely one thing they do right.
Yeah, and... I had something else that was on my tongue that I was going to say. I mean, the whole thing about buying a car, what I was going to say, we're having issues from the car manufacturer side and car dealers franchises side where car manufacturers are trying to pump out as much as they can and, be efficient and, get higher numbers and trying to catch up on all this other stuff. But we keep getting recalls. Cars are getting made too quickly. You have too many, like Panel Gap City.
Yep.
Weird issues with electrical stuff. Cars are, the engines and like the hardware is like fine, but it's all the other shit that's like, tertiary around it. And then we also have this issue with dealerships where they're trying to overpromise and underdeliver by reporting higher numbers initially and then backpedaling from there.
Yeah, and that's just really where I think a lot of it comes down to is the system that existed for the past 100 years that up until the past,
it's obsolete.
Yeah, at this point it's
kick it to the road.
Yeah, at this point there's no reason in the modern era that I should, for any other reason other than test driving and physically like checking out a car, I should have to go to a third party to put in an order for the vehicle I want.
Right. And also I don't want to slander or disrespect anybody that would be listening to this that is that works at maybe at like a smaller dealership, like an actual mom and pop dealership.
Yeah.
And there are good dealerships out there, and like the where I bought my Fiesta, Larry Miller in Draper, like that place has been fine. I haven't had any issues. I bought my car used.
Yep.
But like I bought it a few years used, and when I bought it, it had a tune on it. I didn't know it had a tune on it when I bought it, and it didn't come with an access port. And I discovered this on a road trip going up to Idaho. So I think it was like the day I came back. I called them and I took it in. They were like, bring it on by and we'll see what's going on. And I showed them that you could select different tunes through the cruise control, whereas basically the stage 1 reflash or just vacuum.
Yeah.
Like a borderline eco mode. And they were like, well, do you have any way to read what tune is on there? It's like, no, I bought it from you guys like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like this, no. And they're like, okay, well, because you have a warranty and because you're upfront with us, we'll just replace your ECU entirely. So I got a comped ECU. So like that was great. I haven't had any problems with them. I haven't taken my car in for an oil change and told them to not wash it, and then they come back washed with the a dirty brush, automatic wash. I haven't had that. That's not the case for a lot of other people. So like there are good dealerships out there.
And even I've had 2 experiences with the 2 cars I've bought with my Toyota and my Stinger. Both of them.
Yeah, you bought those brand new.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't have any complaints. Between those 2, I only ever had one problem, which is trying to fight for rock chip repair on my Stinger. That's the only time I've tried to claim any warranty, and only time I've needed to. Because the cars
came with soft paint.
Yeah. And we had a good discussion and came to a good middle ground that they would agree to repaint it on certain terms, but it took a little more than I think it should have. But but that really comes more down to a thing we discussed a few weeks ago with, aluminum being difficult to paint and, for instance, that black NSX having softer paint and also being first run of them attempting to paint aluminum. So anyways, but the dealers themselves, I had fantastic experiences with because that was corporate I was dealing with at that point. And they're going to try to be like, oh, well, it's rock chip, so it's damaged. But the in-person experience at both dealers on both occasions, I went in and basically just outline parameters like, this is what I need to make it good. I know what I want. I know what I can pay, and I know what I have. Let's make it work. And both of them played ball with that. I know there's an equal amount of times, though, that at other dealers, or even at the same dealer, depending on the salesman and depending on many other factors, you could go in and a lot of people end up going car shopping not knowing what they want. In fact, one of the used car dealers that I work with right now mentioned that it's really funny how he probably makes more sales on people just showing up to browse than actually knowing what they want.
My dad bought a G37, an Infiniti G37 X Coupe back in 2011. It was an 09 model year, so he bought it used.
Yeah.
He went down to an Infiniti dealership, just kind of perusing. I think he might have even found the car online. He's like, oh, that's an interesting color, because it was called an amethyst graphite. So it was a mostly gray color, but had some iridescent purpley tones to it.
Okay.
And he went down once to look at it, came back up to Park City, and was like, okay, Gavin, let's go and buy a car. I think let's just check this car out, is what it was. And he drove... Yeah, we drove the Outback XT, the infamous Outback XT, down, and drove that car back. He drove the Infinity back, and I followed him in the Outback. And like someone else was like, we got there and someone took it on a test drive, and my dad was like, I want this car. Like we're buying this now.
Yeah.
So like that does happen. Back to the dealership issue though, Ford right now is like, what's the fucking guy's name? The CEO at Ford. He's not one of the Ford family. He's fuck. What's his name?
Jim Farley.
Jim Farley. Yes.
Yes.
He's even come out recently he's been advocating not against dealerships, but coming down on dealerships with crazy markups on things like Lightning and Bronco. And if anything, Ford is probably going to be the first of the big OEMs to walk away from dealerships.
I'm hoping.
I kind of am too. Like I understand like with the maintenance aspect with dealerships, and like a lot of dealerships have servicing done there, and so I understand why that would be attached, but I don't see a reason why those have to be franchised. Those can be owned and like completely run by Ford corporate.
Yeah, other than the aforementioned laws, I don't think there's really a reason, because the laws have become the reason.
Yeah, like the boots on the ground aspect and like the actual mechanics of how it works doesn't have to be part of a franchise.
Because even then, their franchise agreements are so strict that they already have to follow like 90% of their shit from Ford anyways.
Right.
So like franchises actually, as a backstory, really the reason they started to exist was simply because someone has an idea. For instance, that's how McDonald's started. It was a single place over in California. Somebody thought, okay, we could bring this big, but we don't have the money to spread it like wildfire. So if we get a bunch of individuals that want to invest on a local level, that's great. And again, that concept works fantastic in principle at certain times.
But you also don't have like certain McDonald's charging you X amount for a Big Mac, and then you go down the street and they're charging $30,000 over MSRP for a Big Mac.
Exactly. So that's more franchising. Granted, McDonald's, if you've seen a couple of the movies, like they really got into real estate, and that's how they use that to kind of grow their business. With the dealership stuff, it is a lot less control. They have a lot more local control over like, okay, we want to charge a $20,000 markup on this new Bronco Raptor. And they do. And quite often they've got away with it up until now. And again, actually circling back.
They're still getting away with it because people...
At the moment.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy rich are still getting crazier and richer. I mean, I think the new de facto understandable price of GT3s is now $125 over sticker. So,
which is nuts.
Which is insane. And I think a new average... I mean... I don't know for a fact what the average dealer markup rate is going for new cars right now, but my understanding is that it's at least 5 to 10 over.
Yes, that if I remember correctly, there was an article that circled around just like a month or two ago that said that was the average.
And like that money isn't going to Toyota or Ford or name your car company
or to the salesmen or employees of that franchise. It's going to the business as a whole, and or like a lead sales manager for bonus commissions, or the owner.
Yeah. It does get to some individuals, but I mean, a lot of the times it probably goes to the GM so he can buy a new fucking boat.
Yep.
It's one of those things. I think it's pretty clear where you and I stand on this.
Yeah, the reality is, actually, I thought of a great example of what I would kind of hope, and there's still some flaws with this, but what I would kind of hope automotive dealerships could turn into.
Apple stores.
Yes, because I was a longtime Android user. Android's very open source and stuff like that. And honestly, up until the last few years, I had great experience with it. I ended up going with an iPhone last year, and really the deciding factor was simply that my iPhone 12 Pro was smaller than anything I could get from Samsung or whatnot, and I wanted a slightly smaller phone. Ever since then, I've honestly, as far as phones are concerned, not necessarily anything else, but mainly phones and sheer business functionality have been like, okay, this is awesome. Like it runs well. The couple issues I've had, I've shown up at an Apple store, been helped instantly, even though I only purchased this phone from the Apple store, my watch and my AirPods. I did not purchase from the Apple store, and the watch and AirPods, the issues that I had were fixed free of charge right there by virtue of the fact that it was an Apple product and I could just walk in and do it. And they make things... Apple does have its own set of problems of making things a little convoluted sometimes on the background. However, on their customer-facing front, they are extremely good at. You just show up and can either purchase something new, help with financing, help
They've been
with
that
options.
way for like 20 years.
They have been.
Yeah.
The Apple Store honestly functions great, and that's kind of what I would hope, that, you know, we could have a Ford store, you know, so instead of Ed Kenley Ford, and it's not throwing any specific, that's just a local
or
Ford dealer.
Larry Miller or whatever.
You know, eliminate the name and just have Ford dealer number 3571. Obviously, you wouldn't put the number, but like that's what they would be.
Right.
You know, because it would be.
And you can have like names of like people like Carl Malone Toyota.
Yeah, you could
something
still
like that.
you could still have that, but in the end, at that point, it wouldn't be franchised. It'd be run direct by Ford,
Right.
which gives them a lot more control over what goes on. Because I guarantee you, as much as we're notifying this issue, even Jim Farley right here has talked about this and his wants to move on from the dealership approach.
Yeah.
And that tells me that hopefully not just Ford, but other higher ups that are just not as vocal are also considering the same thing, because it's just time for a change, especially because most of these dealerships, I had two different experiences. I had both of my dealership experiences were both buying cars that are on the ground, but you look at like the process to having to order a car or any of these other things. There's so many ways we could have automated this with modern technology so long ago.
Well, and it's interesting too, the way that things are done in the U.S. versus the rest of the world. Like a lot of other European countries, you don't like. People don't just walk into a dealership and then drive away with their car in the same day.
Yep.
That's a very American headspace. Very like they have some models on the ground, like probably higher trimmed versions, so you can just see exactly what you could get. You can go for a test drive there, but they don't have a huge inventory. You can just drive the car, see what you like, check the options that you want, and put your order in, and you'll get your car in a couple months.
We as Americans, it's almost everything we do at this point. Have been very much into the fast food, quick, and cheap, and instant.
Instant gratification. Yeah, that's a very American ideology. So I'm not saying we should necessarily walk away from American ideology of, you know,
having inventory.
Getting it now. It'd be interesting to see what that would look like for us as a country, but I think definitely walking away from the dealership model of, you know, depending on what dealership you go to, you could, depending on how much you want to get fucked over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and sadly, a lot of them have a bad habit of doing that, which sadly also paints the sometimes stereotypical picture of the shady dealer, especially with, you know, crazy deals like this that we've mentioned. Because this
is something that I would more expect from like a used car lot.
Yes.
Honestly. And now it's flipping kind of on its head.
Yeah, because used car lots, there are, that reputation exists for a reason. There are a lot of them where I have purposely not dealt with some used car lots that have requested me to come and do work for them, because I've seen what the efforts they go to try to cover things up that are legitimate safety issues.
Oh yeah,
And
there's a very well-known dealership network here in Utah that is this the one? Is this the one that I'm thinking of? The one that you were talking about too?
Yes.
That they basically do salvage title cars.
Yes, and when you have a salvage rebuilder, their general concern is their bottom line, and quite often they cannot repair that car properly.
Because the frame's bent.
Yeah, exactly. And so they'll do whatever they can to make the body and the outside look great, and then a little while down the line, you'll find out the frame's bent or has major electrical issues. Or any shit like
flood
that.
car, whatever.
Exactly. And they'll do everything they can to cover that up. They can't out and out say that it doesn't have a salvage title, but they also, at the same time, won't delve into why it has a salvage title.
Right.
And even regular clean title ones, like there have been some.
I think I was about to mention, actually, I think they are starting to walk away, like that dealership in particular is starting to walk away from salvage cars, which is okay, good for you. Yep. Finally, it's taking you a minute, but they are starting to walk away or sell more, I guess, clean title cars.
Yep.
But if you spent like 6-7 years of selling shit cars, like it's going to take more than just a couple of like, you know, clean title focuses to like get you there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just funny that seems to be permeated further up than we thought. Because again, like used car dealers have that slimy reputation, but even, especially the past couple of years, new car dealers have started to get even more of it because of stupid issues like this, where somebody goes in, wants to buy a car, is probably willing to put money down in all these cases we've talked about to like reserve an order or anything like that, but sometimes can't even get to that point because things have been promised on paper and not delivered in reality.
Or I'll do you one better. Someone goes in to buy a C8 Corvette. This is not someone that I know personally, but I've heard this story before, where they go in, they spec out they go to the general manager, they spec out a new C8 Corvette, they put money down, they put their order in, the car gets there, and then the dealer comes back to them and says, well, we could just sell this out from under you and make 20 G's more.
Yep. Well,
no.
There's no protections on the customer end.
Exactly. And so, like, if, the dealership wasn't franchised out to just a specific party, but it was, part of the corporate structure.
Corporate interest is going to be that person gets their car.
Exactly, at their previously agreed price.
And actually, we even know an individual as well, again, we'll withhold his name, that put in an order for a 992 GT3 RS.
Oh.
And even had money down as far as...
Wait, an RS?
Or no, it was just a GT3.
Yeah. Well, is this the same person that had him or had this many?
Hang on, you're going to have some mute for a second. So yeah, that individual.
That's why I held up the fingers.
Yeah. So at least my last talking to this individual, because I occasionally patronize his business.
Sure.
We both do, actually.
Yeah.
He had even had money down. Money had exchanged hands to order this car, and he's been left on red for months.
Yeah.
When other people have already started getting their cars.
Oh yeah, there's a couple that are here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that even at that level, it does occasionally happen.
Right.
Because it's just wild.
Yeah.
Shit's fucked. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
So
what else can we do?
I think what we need to do, I mean, the problem is it doesn't affect the average person, right? The average person going in, for the most part, going into just...
I don't know. I think the Subaru guy and the Nissan guy are, relatively average.
They're the average car guy. What I'm talking about is it doesn't affect, like, Joe Schmo going in to buy his Corolla as much as it does, like, us.
Yeah, but RAV4 Primes are still getting $15,000 markups.
So it's starting to affect them, is what I'm saying.
I mean,
we're getting it. It's getting worse and worse.
I mean, that's been like that for like a year or 18 months.
That being said, being that like it's starting to trickle down more into the general populace, beyond just like enthusiast type stuff.
Yeah. Everything has a markup.
The higher likelihood that we have that something will be done, because realistically, what has to happen comes down to enough people have to get annoyed by it that they enact some legislation to stop it. Whether that's repealing the dumbass laws that people have been fighting to, like, at the dealer level, remove for quite a while, to be able to sell cars direct to customer, because that's an issue Tesla has in Utah. That's an issue that...
they circumnavigate. Well, they got around it in Utah. Texas is the other one.
Texas is the other one, yeah. So, like, eliminating those laws and then trying to somehow push and advocate for actual brands to start buying up their franchises to run them themselves. It really has to come down to it has to affect enough people to push a movement of that size. And it's just going to start on a local level, move to a state level, move to a national level. Hopefully, eventually, that'll be federalized. I don't necessarily want to, as I guess I could say, outlaw franchises, but we also need to not outlaw direct-to-consumer. That's really the problem, because once the direct-to-consumer works, I have a feeling it'll work better, and franchises, even if they're not illegal, will just start going away.
It'll just be in the corporate's best interest to, go direct to consumer.
I mean, there's some companies that, like, having read up a lot on Volvo recently, I have no doubt that, like, Volvo being the way that they deal with their customers, and they're generally a very good brand on the customer end, would probably love to be direct to consumer with how much they're really trying to push their whole rebrand and pushing electric and green energy and all this stuff. I have no doubt they would love to. We know even what's their names? The three-wheeled cars, the local company.
Vanderhall.
Like, they had issues with that as well, with the laws surrounding direct-to-consumer. And they have other issues as well, but that was one of the issues they faced.
Well, it's one of the reasons why they also went to, or they made three-wheeled vehicles.
Exactly. And so, it really, as far as what the average person can do, it's just, I mean, you could say write your congressman, but reality is get enough people banded together to actually make some form of a movement to get something done. Sadly, like you as an individual writing your congressman or whatever is probably not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
But do what our good friend, for instance, for tint laws in Utah, Clayton Stark did.
Oh, yeah.
Get enough of a movement together with enough people behind it to actually...
Get enough local celebrities to get involved.
Exactly. Just to make a change. If you shout up like that, even if it's a grassroots movement that doesn't have a politician behind it at that point, the more noise you create with a movement like that and enough people behind it, the more likely you're going to be able to push out enough news and make enough noise for yourself to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our best effort, is by trying to do that. Because, yeah, I mean, although I have in the past, like, as a businessman, from these individual dealers' point of view, understood markups to a very small level. And when I say very small, I mean like 5%.
Yeah.
That I do understand due to supply and demand, and like, okay, we can't sell as many cars, so we need to make a little more on each car. Makes sense. But once it surpasses that, it's absolutely ludicrous.
But that's something that shouldn't be set by the dealership. That should be something that's set by corporate. That should be built in. Because, I mean, yeah, and there's always been the, cost to the dealer to acquire said vehicle and an agreed upon MSRP.
Yep.
That's all. That's been around forever. So like that's something that should be built in. And if that needs to go up,
it just goes up.
And then it goes up a little bit. But there shouldn't be any like under the table. Even though it's not technically under the table.
Like all of a sudden, basically, you actually, the prime example, which I do know that this has happened to certain people, they'll order a car they're expecting to pay $45,000 for, and they also know that, like, okay, I get there, I have to pay registration, all that bullshit. That's going to go up to like $49,000.
Destination charges. Yeah.
But then they show up and they're like, okay, yeah, well, so due to current circumstances, although we verbally agreed on a price, but there hasn't been any contract signed, we're going to want $55,000 now.
Yeah.
I do know of people that have showed up. And
has the car been like present in front of them at that point?
Yep.
That's the same thing I just mentioned with the Corvette.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where the car is there, but the dealership, knowing that they have a legal out to basically say, oh yeah, well, we don't have to sell it to you because your deposit is refundable. We can just refund that to you, and that wipes us of all legality.
Right.
Then
it's shitty, but
it's legal.
But
they can do it.
But it's legal.
Shitty but legal. Change the legal portion. The shitty portion will go away after you change the legal portion.
Right.
So, yeah, that being said, fight markups and fight stupidity.
Yes. Jeez.
So.
How long have we been going for?
About an hour 15.
Cool. All right. Is that including my shit break?
No.
Oh, cool. I'll try to keep those to a minimum in the future. But to the 6 people that are listening, thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Exhibition of Speed podcast. If there's something that Justin or I said that may or may not have been out of line, or something that you agree with or disagree with, let us know. Slide in our DMs, mostly on Instagram at Exhibition of Speed, or mailbag .eos at exhibitionofspeed. Or wait, no, fuck.
Yeah.
Mailbag.eos at gmail.com is our email. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Do you have anything else to offer, Justin?
Nope. Just
favors of any kind, or services, or
I would just say, in wrap up, do your best to avoid scams and do your best to avoid scammy dealers.
Yeah, 100%. All right, cool. Well, until next time, I've been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Goodbye.